If you're a high achiever, you've probably hit that wall, that frustrating point where just working harder doesn't get you bigger results anymore. It's a ceiling that traps so many talented professionals. Well, the book Who Not How is built around one single radical idea designed to absolutely shatter that ceiling. So let's break down the strategy.
Okay, let's start with a quick diagnostic question for you. When you're faced with a new goal, what's the very first question that pops into your head? Is it, how can I do this? Because if it is, you're defaulting to what the book calls the how trap. And that's a mindset that almost always leads to overwhelm and procrastination, because it puts the entire weight of execution squarely on your shoulders.
So here's how we're going to break it all down. First, we're going to dissect that how trap. Then we'll unpack the core who not how mindset and the 4 key freedoms it promises. After that, we'll apply a much-needed reality check before we deliver the final strategist's verdict.
All right, first up, let's really define the problem here. For people who are really driven, this is a trap that's baited with our own best quality, our work ethic. You see, the real issue is that we get fixated on effort instead of results. It's easy to count the hours we put in, but those hours don't guarantee impact. Just imagine trying to move a huge pile of dirt with a single shovel. Yeah, your effort is heroic, but the result? It's tiny. The who mindset doesn't even see the shovel. It immediately asks, who's got an excavator?
Okay, so that's the problem. Now let's get into the solution, and it really is a fundamental shift in how you think.
The core idea is just brilliantly simple. The moment you replace, how can I do this, with who can help me achieve this, you completely uncap your own limitations. All of a sudden, your goals are no longer constrained by your personal skills or your time. They're amplified by the skills and capabilities of other people, which lets you aim for much, much bigger outcomes.
This quote just nails it. Asking how sends your brain down this rabbit hole of mapping out all the potential problems and roadblocks. But asking who, that connects you directly to the solution, a solution embodied in a person. The problem becomes a project, and that project becomes a collaboration.
Now, the strategic payoff here isn't just about being more productive. The book argues that when you really adopt this mindset, you systematically create 4 incredibly powerful types of freedom in your life. First up, and this one is huge, is freedom of time. By finding who's to handle the house, you get back your single most valuable non-renewable asset. This frees you up to spend your time exclusively in your zone of genius, doing the high-impact work that only you can do. Second is freedom of money. Now, this one requires a total flip in how you think about things. You have to stop looking at help as a cost and start seeing it as an investment. The right who isn't an expense on a spreadsheet. They're an asset who can generate a 10x or even a 100x return. The real question isn't, can I afford this, but what is the cost of not getting this help?
Third, we have freedom of relationship. And look, we're not talking about just swapping business cards at some networking event. This is about building a high-trust team of people who are genuinely aligned with your vision, real partnerships that are focused on mutual growth, not just exchanging services.
And finally, all of this leads to the ultimate payoff, freedom of purpose. When you have the right team in place, your vision is no longer limited by what you can do by yourself. You're free to chase goals that are bigger, way more meaningful, and far more impactful than you could ever achieve alone.
Okay, so that is the powerful, compelling upside. But you know us. A complete strategic analysis always requires a reality check.
The book's cover calls this a formula. And as a strategist, that word immediately raises a flag for me, right? Because a formula implies a predictable, guaranteed outcome. So we have to ask, does this really hold up under all conditions? And what crucial details might be missing from this picture? And here's where we find a few strategic blind spots. First, the book is pretty light on the practical how-to of actually finding your who's, especially if you don't have a big budget or a strong network to start with. Second, and honestly, this is a major flaw, it dangerously dismisses the importance of how the result gets achieved. As a leader, you absolutely have to care if the methods used are illegal, unethical, or out of line with your brand. And finally, let's be honest, the tone can sometimes feel less like a helpful guide and more like a sales pitch for a coaching program.
So, when you weigh the powerful strengths against those very real weaknesses, what's the final verdict? How should we actually use this concept?
Here's the final verdict. Who not how is not a magic formula, but it is an absolutely essential mindset for anyone who is serious about scaling their impact beyond their own personal capacity.
So what are the key strategic takeaways for you? First, treat this as a mindset, not a step-by-step instruction manual.
Use it as a question to challenge your own self-limiting beliefs. Second, remember your job is the vision. You have to be crystal clear on the what and the why. But third, the how still matters. You have to set the ethical and strategic boundaries for your team. And finally, the best way to get started is to just start small. You don't need a huge budget. Just delegate one small task this week and see what kind of freedom that unlocks for you.
So I'll leave you with this question to think about. What is the single biggest how that you're stuck on right now that really needs to become a who? If you want to go deeper, you can find a link to the book in the description below. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel for more deep dives, and I'll see you in the next one.